I just
Oh,
start
here we
saying
go.
hello, hello, hello. What?
Watch out, everybody. Tony's in a feisty mood. Just forewarning you. I mean, talk about
It's all
needing
good. It's all good.
talk about needing therapy today.
I'm in a good spot. I feel good. I'm just feisty, but good feisty.
Good feisty. Well, that's good
Yeah.
because we're talking pickleball, and we got. I don't know what we're. I do know a couple things I want to talk about. I don't know what Tony wants to talk about. But we got something for everybody today. So it doesn't matter if you're brand new to the game, and if you are new to the game, welcome. Fantastically glad you're playing pickleball. This is an amazing sport. It's so much fun. If you're not new to the game, welcome to you too. We're really glad you're here. Talking pickleball on a Monday afternoon. So we're just checking our tech real quick. By the way, I am CJ Johnson and I'm from the Better Pickleball channel and one half of VI Pickleball. The guy who's like looking, I think he's looking at YouTube. What's your name?
I'm looking at. I'm trying. My name's Tony. Hello, everybody. Tony Roy, into pickle, and with CJ Johnson, VI Pickleball. Everybody, how you doing? CJ,
So
where's the thing on Facebook? I need to find it. Are you doing Facebook?
I'm doing Facebook. You're doing
All
YouTube.
right, I'll get out of here then. Bye,
Because
Facebook. Hello, Facebook. All right.
Because if you have questions, we are going to take some questions. And hey, some of you already asked some questions. We put that out to our email list this weekend. If you're not on our email list, would love to have you. We put out a newsletter every Saturday with lots of different stuff. And you can get on that by going to wearepickleball.com/7 tips. That's where you will find us. It looks like we are live over here on Facebook, which is great. How about YouTube? Are we over on YouTube?
It looks like it. We got Nicholas Dale and Winky LaForce. I like Winky LaForce. That's a good name.
Winky.
May the LaForce be with you.
Well, she is, and she's one of our VIP members. Hi, Winky. How are you today?
Love it. What's happening, Winky?
So, all right. I just put that. If you and we've got Charm. She's another one of our members. Hey, Charm is over on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
She's watching with. Orlena is over there too. She's another member. Hello. How are all of you? Hope
And
you're
I
having a
think is
great
it
day.
Charm or is it Charm or Char? I think it's Charmaine, right? Charmaine.
Ooh,
I know we've
I,
done this before, and I
we have done
apologize,
that.
but I think
We have done this before.
we've done this dance, and we apologize. I'm awful with names, so I'm gonna put that right out there. Awful, all parts of names. So apologies, but
And
if you
maybe
can tell us, like, put in the phonetic pronunciation, that'd be awesome.
yes. Yes, tell it, and you can tell us who's right. He might be right for a change. It'd be new for him, but
And to be fair, next time you see us, you can call me. You can call me whatever you want to call me. You call CJJC. There you go. So we'll even it out.
every once in a while I get called JC.
That's fair.
So
Very nice.
we got asked a few questions this weekend. So I want to start out with one. Can I? Is that okay if I start out with one?
You do
Because you
whatever
know
you
me.
want, CJ.
So you know me. I've been looking in the inbox, just so you know me. Like, I've been looking in the inbox. I asked Tony right before I came on, I said, "Did you look in the inbox?" And what did you tell me?
I was like, "Where's the inbox? Do we
So,
have an inbox? Where's that thing? I don't know where the inbox is. That's not my shtick, people. You want to talk about the first four shots? You want to talk? I'm there, stacking whatever you want, but don't ask me where the inbox is.
so I want to talk about a couple of things that came in the inbox. And by the way, thank you for sending so many great questions and comments and suggestions. There were a ton. We can't possibly get to all of them today. Tony has dinner plans this evening, so we're gonna check off a couple of them and save a few for later. And you never know, they might end up being a YouTube video as well. But this one was pretty interesting because we don't have a lot of content on this one, and this came from Jane. And Jane asked, "How do you come back mentally and physically after an injury?" And I know that I talk a lot about I talk a lot about physical fitness and preventing the injury to begin with, but I don't really have you. That's not the kind of stuff that YouTube generally wants to see. I'll just be real honest, right? It's stuff that fascinates me. But that's a hard sell in terms of making a video on YouTube, but it's perfect for this because I think a lot of us have had to come back from an injury. Have you got any content like that on your channel, Tony?
No, that's it's really interesting. I mean, so how do you come back mentally and physically from an injury? That's such a good question. I mean, physically, I would think, and CJ, obviously, you're much more the expert on that part of the world or part of the, our existence than I am. But I mean, I would think obviously you'd want to, uh, get your strength back right in whatever muscles have atrophied. Work on your flexibility, your balance, still, all that kind of stuff. Kind of ease back into that. Mentally, I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here a little bit, but I think, the way I would think about that would be like, not that let's say you were 4-0 and you got injured, right? Not that you say you're going to come back as a 3-5, right? But maybe be realistic, right? When you come back and accept the fact that you're not going to be exactly the same player, and just understand that, with a month or, a couple weeks or a month, that, you should be getting back into a rhythm and knocking the rust off, would be the way I would think about it, CJ. What do you think?
It's a fascinating subject because I ski as well, and injury is a big part of skiing. It's not usually a question of if; it's more of a question of when, and what are you going to do when you come back. I mean, when you're skiing at the level that I'm skiing at, as many days as I ski in the terrain that I ski, and that is a fascinating question. I took a pretty big tumble in a no-fall zone, which you've probably, I did a blog post about this a couple years ago, and I will tell you, mentally, it has been a challenge. It's been a process. It's been 2 years since I took that tumble, and there are still some situations which bring back a little flashback. It happened in a pretty narrow-ish rock band, and there are still some flashbacks, and you're going to have those. That's my experience. You are going to have those flashbacks. How do you deal with that? And for me, I think the same thing happens, is staying in the moment on the pickleball court. Stay aware of your body. What's your body telling you? Because sometimes your body's fine and your mind's telling you, no, this isn't right. But the body really isn't having any issues. So what's my body telling me? Am I feeling pain? Am I feeling discomfort when I start to come back? Separate out the physical and the mental, because it's not always physical, at least not for me. Sometimes it's like, ooh, is that gonna hurt? Right? Have you ever had
And
that with
I
an
hadn't thought
injury?
about that, CJ. I mean, because when the question, I was thinking of a generic injury, so an off-court injury, but certainly would be more impactful if it was an on-court injury, right? So if let's say you rolled on a ball, you rolled your ankle, or you broke your wrist going backwards, something like that. I would say this, I guess. I mean, to some extent, I think the caution that might come into play afterwards, in terms of avoiding potential future injury, might not be the worst thing in that world, right? Because skiing, I think, is a little different, right? Skiing is, you got to go, right? Either you're going to go or you're not going to go down that hill. But like in pickleball, you can make the choice. You're like, well, I'm not going to go backwards, right? And so if you lob me and I don't pivot, whatever, that's fine. You win. I don't care. I mean, it's not that important for me to go retrieve that lob, right? As I say that as I just published a video on how to cover lobs. But you know what I mean? But having that mentality of like, you know what? I don't really want to go to the hospital again over that. We actually had we haven't talked about this, EJ, but we had a player here who fell. I believe she actually broke her wrist, and she's a surgeon. So,
You told me about
I
that.
mean, just think of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, think of that impact, right? In obviously she can't play pickleball, right? But that's the least of it. That's the little sliver, right? Compared to the rest of. I mean, her profession is affected by an injury happening in a game at the end of the day. So, interesting
Well,
question. Yeah, I think about
and
it.
and I do think let me tie that up. And one, I'm going to lose this thought if I don't say it, so I'll tie it up in just a second. If you're new to pickleball, do not backpedal. We see that that's a common thing that's brand new or that happens more often with newer players. When a ball's hit over your head, we have a tendency to drag our feet as we go backwards, and that's just a recipe for disaster. We've got some videos on the channel about how to turn and pivot, especially if you don't have a racket sports background. It's a learned skill, so if you're new to pickleball, stay away from that, because we don't want the same thing happening to you. Is a fall. But the mental side.
CJ, do you remember when I sent the I don't remember this now, but I made a post on Facebook where I kind of floated out an idea. I was like, what if we made it like like basically a fault if you took 2 steps backward. Oh my God. It was like I was like, oh, I just committed to some deadly sin on pickleball because I got the trolling I got over that. I was just like, all right, forget it, guys. So
I
I was
know.
trying to be like, let's do safety. I'm like, you're a nanny, I'm like, all right, whatever. Just trying to think of solutions. So
Yeah, he likes to stir up, you know what. But anyway, from the mental side, from the physical side, like Tony said, I think get with your PT or whoever you're working with to get yourself strong again. And then on the pickleball court, just be real aware of what's mental and what's physical. And this kind of goes for everybody. If you are in pain, if you're on the pickleball court and your body hurts, you have acute pain, that's your body telling you another 4-letter word that starts with a S. Stop. Listen to your body, okay? And so, but be aware that sometimes your brain will be like, ooh, do I really want to do that? Especially coming back after an injury. So I think I might write about that a little bit more. There was a gal in the U.S. ski team who like messed up her leg. I mean, tib, fib, plateau, ACL, MCL, those are all joints and tendons around the knee. And her first race back, I think she finished 7th, and it was a speed event, right? And I was like, whoa, that's some tough up here to come back and to come back at that level. So Jane, I hope that helps you. I hope that helps you a little bit, and I'm gonna kind of dig a little bit more and see if I can find out some of her secrets, what this gal did, and how they may translate to being on the pickleball court.
I got to play this morning a little bit, CJ, and there was like a short as a drop shot, right? And I was playing with a friend, Kent, and Kent played college tennis, so his mind is always like get everything, right? And so the ball came over, and I took 1 step, and I was like, oh, I stopped. And then Kent's like running up there trying to get it. He didn't. I think he touched it before it bounced twice, but I was like, Kent. As soon as I saw that ball, I'm like, that's just a beautiful shot. Excellent shot.
By the way, if you have some questions for us, you are more than welcome to ask them. Just go ahead and put them in the comments on either YouTube or Facebook. So, Tony, somebody has a question for us. I'll let you take this one. It says, what does CJ stand for?
Kathy Joe.
That's what he calls every time he calls me. What's up, Kathy Joe? Which I used to be called.
Your voicemail says you've reached Kathy Joe. So
does it really?
You don't say yes. You don't say CJ. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. Man, I gotta tell you. Okay? So I do have to give Tony a little bit of props here. Now, Tony and I have this ongoing discussion inside VI Pickleball about the third shot lob, and Tony loves it, and CJ has been. I've gone from not liking it at all.
You're getting lukewarm. You're becoming lukewarm to it, I think. Yeah, you're going lukewarm. That's good. You know.
I'm lukewarm. So we were laughing so tell the story. First of all, Tony played in the APP tournament this weekend over in, what was it, Delray Beach? That's where they were this weekend, right? So Tony played in the tournament in Delray Beach. We're talking while he's on the way home. Tell me what you did and what happened with that third shot lob this weekend.
So we were playing, we were in the bottom draw. We had won 2 in the top draw, then knocked down in the third match in the top draw. We were playing our bottom draw match. And so it was a 15-pointer. And I think at that point the score, we were on this side, so it was still before 8. So I want to say it must have been like, actually we switched right after that. So it must have been like, say like 5-2 or 5-3, something like that. And I decide to go, I lobbed one from the baseline into the corner. We come up, we win the point. Very next one, because I'm in a groove now, right? So the very next one, I'm like, mine, I go get it, lob it again into the corner, go up, win the point. The very next one, mine, go get it, lob it in the corner, drop it. And one of the opponents, super nice guys, I played with him before in a tournament a couple years ago, at the same tournament in Delray. And he goes, hey, where's your video on the baseline lob? I haven't seen that one yet. But he was like, maybe you want to keep that one close to the vest. And so those 3 points in a row, right? All won with baseline lobs. And at the end of the match, it was 14, whatever the score was, 14-9 or something like that. They sent a lot for the winner.
And you made your
So
opponents
4 out of 15 points is not bad.
4 out of 15 isn't bad. That's not bad. And I think
and that doesn't. Okay, let me be clear. 4 out of 15 doesn't mean that I tried it 15 times and won 4. That means out of a total of 15 points. Well, I want to be clear because it makes it sound like that's a bad idea, right? It would be a terrible idea. Was 4 out of 15 total. So I may have tried the shot. I don't remember how many times I tried it, but I didn't try it. We may have lost a couple right away, off it, and then a couple that didn't do much. But scoring 4 out of 15 points off of one type of shot, I think, can really change the dynamic. The other thing that started happening was they have to fade back. And I don't know if I told you this, but when we played John Sperling, our friend who's done some work with us, some of the webinars and stuff with us.
Yep.
John Sperling and Barry Waddell, very good players. And I was lobbing Barry, and it was working. It was working. I'm not saying we won 4 points in a row because that's a different team, right? But it was working to push him off the line. And John actually told Barry to start fading off the line, off his MVZ line some, in order to be ready to cover my lobs because I was pushing him off the line. So you get them to change their positioning. Excuse me, you get them to change what they want to do. That's always good, in my opinion. If I can get you out of your comfort zone, I like that.
And that I would agree with. If you can make the other team on the other side of the net uncomfortable, that's always a good thing. And keep them guessing, which it sounds like you did. Now, I have to give him some props. And I texted this to him yesterday. So I was at home and I happened to have one of the mixed doubles matches on yesterday, and Simone third shot lobbed Pat Smith, and she was on the even side, so she was on the right side of the court, and he was directly across from her, and she third shot lobbed him down the line. Was her target, and he's a tall guy. I mean, it was a well hit lob. Yeah. He's still got
and very athletic, and he's very athletic. He's not, he's like, if you lob me and get over, I can't jump. They were joking with me today because I jumped and it was like this high. But Patrick, he can jump. He's athletic, athletic player.
And he with a long reach, athletic with a big reach, and she got it over his. So that's his backhand. He's a righty, so she got it over his backhand side, and he was still able to attack it, but not like he could normally attack a backhand, right? I mean, it was a weaker attack. They eventually won the point. It was like 3 shots later, and he hit a couple good slams, and they just kept defending. And then he finally hit one of the fairly easy ones. He hit it into the net, so he didn't get the winner off of that. But I was like, even Dave Fleming, who he's been out here to play. He's a great guy. He's been out here to play. Even he's like, what? Simone just lobbed a third from the baseline, and it was like,
I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna see that more, because if you can develop that shot, the thing about that shot, and I'm not suggesting anybody that's watching this should go out and like immediately learn this, but if you think about it, right? If I hit, and we always do this, right? So this is my return team. See the camera there? Okay. This is the return team. This is the serve team down here, right? So a third shot allows me to get to the same position, right? But a good lob actually does this. So it actually changes the position on the court to where the other team now is at a disadvantage. So it's not something that you need to do a lot of, maybe, but it is a shot that if you, and actually the first team we played, CJ, was a very good lobbing team. They just, we just had too many weapons for them to be able to capitalize on that shot, but their lobs were pushing us. I had to keep on going back. They were sending these moon balls up that I had to go back and get, over and over again. So anyway, CJ, you want me to go with a couple questions here, or you got more stuff on your end?
Well, let's tie this up, and then you can grab into those questions too. Because one of the things we wanted to say, like Tony said, is don't necessarily run out and learn it right away. It depends on what level you're at. Now, the thing that we do agree upon, if you are at the non-volley zone, an offensive lob from the non-volley zone, any level can try that one, because there's not a lot of downside. And we did a webinar on this back in January, I want to say. We did a webinar. You can find it on one of our channels, either on Better Pickleball or over
the other
on
channel that would
Into Pickle. Well, I'll tell you what.
I'm gonna let you. I was gonna let you languish on that. As long as it took you to remember it, I'm like, you can read my shirt, you can whatever. You're just like, what's the name of that other channel?
What's the name of that other channel? Who's that? Who's that other guy? You can find it on the you can find it on his channel. But what I was gonna say, we'll just make it easy on you. If you want to see it, put a comment on Facebook or YouTube that says I want to see it, and I'll put the link up there later after we are over, and you can see
I like it.
Our little thing about the lob, the offensive lob. You should be trying that one. Okay, your turn. What is it? You said you got some questions over on
I
YouTube.
do. Margaret is asking a question. Yeah, some on there. So before I answer the questions or get to the questions, there's two things that I'd like to touch on if you want to hang around, and I think they're going to be interesting. I think they're interesting because it's actually part of my, and CJ knows this already. We had a few conversations about it, but it's actually my personal journey as a pickleball player. But it's more than a pickleball player, right? It's not just my ability to hit a third shot is improved or my dinking or whatever the skills, right? It's up here, right? It's appreciating the game better, having more fun playing it because of my changed mindset on it. And so I'm happy to share that with you guys if you want to hang out for a little bit on that. And then we're going to talk for a second about stacking and some stuff we have coming up on stacking. But before we get to that, let's address some of the questions. So Margaret wants to know, how should I warm up in rec play? I am told I am too aggressive in warm-ups to save those shots for the game. There are some comments which are pretty good feedback, some back and forth on the chat, which is nice. And we always encourage that, guys. We encourage some, constructive conversation. Dale, who's here, right? CJ and I both know Dale very well. He comments on our videos. Sometimes we agree with him, sometimes we don't, and we have a nice conversation about it. As long as we're being constructive and productive, I'll talk with anybody about anything having to do with pickleball or anything you want to talk about. As long as it's constructive and productive. Anyway, so the answer to your question, Margaret, is how should I warm up in rec play? So remember that in rec play, in tournament too, but in rec play, there's two people warming up, right? So I think what they're talking about, they're not, when they say too aggressive in warm-ups, I don't think they're addressing your preparation, right? I don't think they're saying, you shouldn't hit those shots or warm up to prepare yourself. I believe the angle is those shots don't let me warm up, right? Because I'm trying to warm up at the same time as you are. So let's say that I'm trying to do third shots, right? And and some players have done this to me and I'm not saying you, Margaret, have done this to me, but some players, because I've never played with you, but some players have done this to me where like I'm trying to warm up third shots and they're like, ram! And I'm like, well, okay, all right. I mean, I can't really hit a third shot because the person's hitting it so hard. So that may be what they're talking about there. I would suggest to you warm-ups, especially in rec play, I would focus more on my body being warm, and CJ always is very good about this, about reminding our members and stuff to make sure you're warming up, make sure you're getting your body warm so you avoid injuries. I think warming up the other shots and stuff like that, that's a little overrated in my opinion, because either you have the shot or you don't have the shot. Maybe you need like 2 or 3 times just to kind of get a little bit of a rhythm, but you're not going to learn how to hit a third shot in the 2-minute warm-up before you start playing. More concentrate on your body being warm. What do you think, CJ? You like that?
I do. I like that. I will tell you, that is the one thing I do like to hit, though, is I like to hit a couple third shots before I play. Mm-hmm. That if there's one that
get a little feel, the wind, right?
Yeah. What's happening? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, but
hitting 15 or 20 is not gonna take it up crazy, right? So
thank you for that lead in about warm up your body. I'm like totally impressed. Good job.
Well, that's what we do. That's what we do. CJ is always about that. Listen, we look at pickleball. We look at pickleball holistically, guys. And gals. It's not just everybody wants to hit the third shot. That's fine. I have nothing. It sounds like I hate the third shot. I don't hate the third shot. Third shot's fine, right? But there's more to pickleball than just a third shot. Another question here. Yes.
Hang on one second. I'm just gonna I wrote a blog post this weekend. And one of the things I talked about was that holistic approach, is making sure that when you have a plan to get better at pickleball, it's not just about hitting the third shot better. Great, that's a wonderful goal, having better technique, a shorter backswing on the third shot, more loose grip pressure, whatever it may be. That's fantastic technique goal. But that's only one part of the pickleball picture. It has to be combined with taking care of yourself physically off the court, as well as taking care of yourself mentally and understanding the strategy that goes along with what you're doing. That's how you're going to get to where you want to be. So it needs to be all 4 of those. All 4.
Agreed.
All right. You can go with the next one now.
Carol, awesome. Carol said, Irina Tereshchenko prides herself on a slice backhand return. And then why? Is it because it gives her more time to get to the kitchen? So Carol, when you're playing at arenas level, at that level of play, the reason they're slicing that return hard normally, excuse me, is because it makes it more difficult to execute a third shot. So it's not so much they're usually fast enough that they're going to go up to the MVC anyway. But that slice return they're hitting isn't like a floater kind of a slice. It's usually a driven slice, which is going to have some pace on it. Their idea there is to basically have the ball skid off the court and stay super low and make it harder for the opponents to either drive it hard or lift a third shot, kind of putting a harder shot on the serve team. So for most players, I recommend a higher, I think we both do, CJ, a higher, loopier sort of return, because the most important thing, we just did a clinic yesterday where we really focused on this and it really helped the players getting up to the MVZ and hitting those hard returns. What happens is if you're playing a team that knows how to drive, so say you're playing tennis players, right? Former tennis players or tennis players. If you hit it hard and they hit it hard, you don't have time to get to the MVZ. So they catch you halfway. That's a recipe for disaster. And then Leonard had a question here. What are some good drills to do with a pickleball machine? Leonard, there's pretty much anything. I mean, drill volleys and dinks are really good. Third shots are a good thing to work on. Pretty much any shot you need, but definitely volleys are super good with the pickleball machine, because usually like dinking, if you have a drilling partner, they can dink with you, so you can work on that together in cooperation. Volleys are harder to get somebody to help you with because they're not really doing anything. They're just feeding balls to you, and that's no fun for them, right? So use that machine. If you have a drilling partner, do dinking with them, and then use the machine for volleys and stuff like that. So I think that's good stuff on that, CJ. What do you think?
That is, we got a question over on Facebook really quick, and I'm not going to step in. I'm not going to step into this one though, because I would tell you, what's your least? Allie K. Hello, Allie. How are you? She wants to know, what is your least favorite rule in pickleball? I got to tell you, coming from golf.
Least favorite rule.
Yeah, coming from golf, where there's a lot of rules. I don't know that I have a least favorite rule. I think they just are. They're just there, and that's just what you play with, and I think rules are just meant to keep everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
So I don't really have one.
CJ, that was from Allie?
Yeah.
That was from Allie?
Yes.
Allie, tune in next week. I'm going to ponder it. I'll probably wake up at 4 in the morning and go like, that's the rule. But right now, nothing comes to mind. So sorry. So a couple from Panna over here, which I think are interesting. One is
hi Panna. Panna's one of our members.
And then she loves to lob and does it quite well, but the opponents always try to make you feel guilty and won't even try to sometimes return them. That's an issue that you have to deal with. That's a political issue, in terms of personality issue. So in rec play, sometimes like I'll lob in rec play, but I don't lob as much as I might in a tournament. In a tournament, if I see that I have an advantage with a lob, you're getting lobbed like crazy. And then she said this, which, one 4.0 player that plays at my club tells me that she thinks a lob is a low-level shot. Panna, two things I'll suggest you. One, you can tell her that Tony, and I'm a senior pro player, lobs. And I've lobbed, and I've gotten a bronze medal lobbing. And you can tell the player, the 4.0 player, I don't know if it's a man or woman, doesn't matter, but, I was trying to say he or she. You can tell the player that the best shot ever hit in the game of pickleball in an important moment was a lob.
Okay, so, what was that shot? You can't throw that out there and then Nationals
finals, Kyle Yates and Ben Johns against Matt Wright and David Weinbach, and Kyle on championship point against them, throws up a lob over Matt Wright. That Matt Wright, I think when that lob was going over his head, Matt Wright's brain melted, he couldn't process what was happening. Like he's thinking, well, am I Matt Wright, or what just happened here, right? Did you just lob me, on championship point? And then it changed the whole thing. And then Kyle and Ben end up coming back and winning, right? So I think it's the sickest shot ever hit in pickleball, in my opinion, under the circumstances. So lob.
Okay.
That's all the questions on my end. What do you have on your end?
Nothing yet. Got, let's see, Casey's here, KCP, and Laura.
What's up, KCP?
And Jim.
And it almost sounds like it's three things, KCP, but it's not. It's Casey.
Yeah, Casey.
And then P last name.
She's another one of our members. Okay, you had some stuff you wanted to talk about.
I did. Oh, Panna, you're welcome, Panna. You don't worry about that. We got your back. We always got your back. Here's something fascinating to me, guys and gals, and hopefully you'll find it useful to you as well. So, I come from, I don't want to bore you with a lot of details in this, but I played tennis my whole life, right? And so as a kid, I played tennis, and, there's, any child when you play, you have a lot of sort of pressure, right? Sort of like pressure to win and stuff like that. So, I was the normal bratty, not normal. I was a bratty tennis kid. I broke tennis rackets. I'm not a good sport playing tennis, just, mentally not, it wasn't positive, right? And some of that translated, continued, right? Even I'm a 50-year-old man, right? And I'm playing pickleball and I'm getting upset about nonsense, right? So the last tournament that I played, the PPA tournament, I felt very at peace with everything. I felt very good. I attribute a lot of it to Coach Peter Scales, who we work with on some of the mental and emotional training in VI pickleball. And I highly recommend his book. If you have any issues with mental and emotional stuff in pickleball, go to Amazon, buy it. There you go. It says for tennis on there, just you can scratch out. It doesn't matter. Everything in there, compete, learn, honor. It will really change your perspective. So I've been thinking about winning. Like, what does it mean to win? Like, what is is winning? Do we define our success on the court as more games won than games lost? Because if that's our metric, right? That's just God, that's just such a bad metric. It's really just, and metric to me, I'll just define it because metric to me is how we not to me. Metric means, right? Some of you may not be familiar with terminology. Metric means like this is how I'm going to measure something, right? So I'm measuring success. If my metric for success on the pickleball court is I won more games than I lost during that session, that's just not going to be fun. That's just not going to be like I don't know, man. It's a bad mindset. So like this morning, I got up and I sent it to CJ already because I got up and I wanted to write something about winning, right? So I wrote my think about winning, how you define winning, and I ended it like this. I went out this morning and I played with three friends of mine. I got to go on the court and play with three friends of mine. I already won. I have nothing else to prove. I don't have to prove anything when I'm out there. I don't have to prove anything to them, to myself, to CJ, to anybody, right? So, and I think if you start adopting that mindset, right? And I told CJ this before we got on the call. I'm playing with a friend, right? And and we were getting killed because we were trying different. We were trying intentionally. I told them, I said, let's work on this. Let's work on angles, playing a soft game, working, which is not our strength. Our strength is pound it, pound and pound, right? So we lost. We lost a couple of games and badly, not great. But you know what happened? At the end of the day, they're just numbers. They have a number. We have a number. Okay, whatever. You know, who cares? So, and I don't mean who cares. Like I don't care because I was working on stuff, right? So obviously I care about being out there and competing, right? But but the metric, you gotta shift that metric from winning to or winning like meaning like I won a bunch of games versus winning meaning I'm out here, I'm playing pickleball, I'm getting exercise, all the things, right? I'm enjoying myself, I'm seeing friends and things like that. And I will challenge you to this. Anybody who's listening to this at any point in time, 2 weeks ago, whatever day you played, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I don't care what day it was. How many games did you win? How many games did you lose? Most of you have
Can't
no
tell.
idea. And if you don't know now, why does it matter then? It's just so anyway, that was the winning thing, guys and gals. Just you really just enjoy it. Enjoy pickleball.
Well, and this feeds into we've been talking about this inside VI pickleball because we've been studying Coach Pete's book. That's why I had it sitting right in front of us. We've been studying it, and as Tony and I were talking, I said, we just talked about chapter 12, which chapter 12, and I have to say the table of contents in this book is like worth its weight in gold. Chapter 12 was improving is a better goal than winning, and I think one of the metrics is improving is a better goal than winning is are you excited about practice? That's one of the metrics. If you're not excited about practice, you're only excited about playing, I think you're really focused on winning. That's my personal opinion. We can go further on that some other day. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
And to me,
that
CJ, but that's you defining you be the protagonist in your life, right? And be the
yep.
protagonist. We always say be the protagonist when you play, right? And that doesn't mean that you're going to win. That just means that you know what's going on out there you're being intentional in your actions. The other team might still beat you because whatever happens happens, right? But be intentional. It's the same thing here, right? If you want to improve, right? If your objective is, I want to improve, and CJ and I use this thing all the time, like, are we at 85% in something? If we're at 85% in something, we're done with it, right? Because that's, getting to 100%, squeezing that extra 15% a lot of times, we're good. We move on to something else to work on that. Maybe we're not at 85%. So it's the same thing here, right? Your third shots, maybe you're not hitting 100% at third shots, and nobody does. Simone doesn't, Ben doesn't. So once you get to a certain point, you're like, okay, I'm good with that. But let's say you still want to get to that level, right? If you want to go out and drill and stuff like that, and that's your decision, or you're playing, right? You want to stay back and work on that shot over and over again, and you lose the game, that's fine because you're the protagonist. You're making decisions that
Right.
are important to you, as opposed to and maybe I'm having a little epiphany here, right? But as opposed to allowing others to tell you what's important. And
Right.
the score is what other people are telling you is important. You be the one that says what's important when you're out there, not other people.
I'm also going to suggest that plays into confidence, because one of the things we got, and I got a lot of questions on this today, right? Is how do you overcome intimidation? How do I get more
Mm-hmm.
confidence on the court? Things like that. When you're the protagonist, when you're comfortable with that, and you're comfortable with where you're at, and less concerned about what other people think or what other people are doing, I think that's when you get more confidence. And there's no doubt it's a process. It is definitely a process. And frankly, there are just some days, I don't know about you, Tony, there are just some days it's like, the hell with improvement. I just want to win. I might see another team on the other side of the net and go, I could care less what I have to do. I just want to beat you. That's it.
But I'm coming at it from a more. I'm trying to be more zen right now, Dale. I'm not really even like. I want to. I will tell you this. I want to compete. And like for instance, in the tournament this weekend, we won 3 matches. We lost 2 matches. Okay, and some teams that are probably higher ranked than us, like like their combined rating is higher than ours, went 0-2, 1-2. 1-1, lost 2, things like that. Right? We went 3-2, which
Uh-oh. Tony froze, or maybe we both did.
I
Looks
my internet's looking good over here, so I don't know.
okay. I think we
All
got it
right.
back.
Sorry, guys, it refroze. But anyway, so you have we lost to 2 teams that are very good teams, but you know what? We competed. The match that knocked us out, right? It was a 15 pointer. We were down 10-4. Okay, so that's obviously not great. And we battled this 10-7, and that game stayed at 10-7 in like this, you know, balance, like balance on a high wire. I want to say for like 10 minutes. It was a long time. It was like we were battling, they were battling, we were battling, they were battling. That's when you know you're playing pickleball. That's when you know when you have that stalemate happening and you're playing these really awesome rallies, right? It doesn't matter who wins. I mean, you're leaving it all on the court. And I played with a friend of mine, Marcus Luke from North Carolina, and we were done, and we talked, and we were like, you know what, man, we left everything on the court. We left everything on the court. I feel perfectly fine with what happened. Yes, the score wasn't in our favor, but you know what? The same team that beat us, right? Then they played Moore and Witskin in the next match, and they lost 16-14, right? They battled, obviously. I didn't watch the match, but 16-14 tells me that they battled as much as they could. At the end of the day, they still have an L, like we have an L there, right? But they competed, right? And that's what matters. It's not the W, it's not the L. So,
Well, and you know what's interesting? I do think that fits into what was it last year? In January and February last year, I did 2 live shows about the top 10 pickleball pet peeves. I think I might have told you about that. I got more emails. I asked everybody on the newsletter list what was their pickleball pet peeve, and I got over like 15% response rate. It was crazy the number of email responses I got. And one of the top peeves was points not going long enough. People wanted to play those long points that Tony is talking about. And sometimes that's not about winning the point, right? Sometimes that's about extending that and having fun with it. So, all right, let's move on. Let's
CJ, you
talk.
know what? We're getting some comments out there about how my head is like 3 times the size of your head. That's just a fact, guys. I'm sorry. We try. This is actual head size comparison there on the video. All right, can I do one more thing we got here?
You can do one more thing. Yeah.
So Ian asked a question, and there was a question to clarify the question, right? Which is all cool. Ian wanted to know. He was talking about he used the term baking, right? So obviously we know what baking is. Some people don't. We're gonna explain it. So Ian said, saw a video of Tony doing some great baking in his last tournament. Will we see some baking strategies, offense and defense, risk reward, and when to use? And then there was a question, which totally fair question. Galadad55, totally fair question. Baking, question mark, question mark, question mark. So what Ian's referring to, he's using shorthand. He's referring to the shake and bake, which is basically shake and bake is usually it's a drive and a finish, right? So usually it's like one player drives and then the other player moves up and that's a shake and the bake is the put away. So I played in a mixed doubles tournament, and in mixed doubles I am ultra aggressive, and so which actually I wanted to talk about. Let me go real quick about warm ups on that. So I'm ultra aggressive. Linda, my partner, is a great. She can drive the ball really well. So she was driving, I was going up and putting him away. So that's the baking part. So Ian, answer your question. Yes. We listen. We're always looking to give you guys tips on different areas and stuff like that. We really have been focusing on, and go back to what CJ said, extending points, right? Extending rallies. So we've really been focusing on the first 4 shots, right? Because we want to make sure that the foundation is set. You need to have that foundation. If you have that foundation, then these other branches build from there, right? So the shake and bake, the NBZ lob. Like if you don't get past first 4 shots, you're never gonna hit an NBZ lob. So like learning an NBZ lob, if you're not getting past 4, is not that it's a waste of time, but how often are you gonna get to hit it, right? So we've really been focusing on locking down really the fundamentals, and then we can get into all kind of crazy stuff like shake and bake and things like that. So, but yeah, to answer your question, absolutely. I mean, we're going to keep on adding layers and layers and layers on this thing. It's going to be like this big old cake of shake and bake and all this craziness. But one of the things I wanted to mention, going back to Margaret said, and some of the conversation in there, Stan made a nice comment about warm-ups and tournaments and things like that, is sometimes you're going to want to warm up, particularly if you're playing a competitive match or a tournament match. You're gonna good one, Galadad. I'll come back to that. It's basically you warm up the shots that you're going to use during the match when you're playing a competitive match. So I'm going to give you, and this kind of freaked our opponents out a little bit. I think Linda and I never hit a third shot during warm-ups. We just smashed balls. We were just driving balls at each other, right? Like crazy people. We look like insane people out there. We were just hitting the ball hard. But you know what? That's what we're going to do when we started playing. So why am I going to hit all these beautiful third shots and then the match starts and I'm slamming balls, right? So if we're going to slam balls, in our strategy was our slam balls, right? So that's what we practiced, because that's what we were going to use. But again, that's in a tournament setting, and we knew what we were doing there. And so, you can be very intentional, going back to intentionality and protagonism and stuff like that. So I got to tell you the comment that he put over that Galadad, but it's kind of funny. So Galadad55, getting baked meant something else entirely in my youth. I'm not saying I wasn't baked when I was baking, but I'm not saying that. So.
Whoa. Okay.
Let's talk. CJ, it's feisty tonight.
I'm telling you, he is. He's feisty. Okay, feisty guy. Stacking. Let's talk. We got some stacking stuff coming your way.
Okay. Oh, I got it. Just came to me, CJ. I love this. Check it out. So, CJ and I are working on some stacking content. It's going to be awesome. And I'll tell you one thing. I may not know a lot about a lot of things, but we know what's some stacking. Like I've been stacking since day one. I'm left-handed, so there's obviously there's some in there. Stacking is not a left-handed, right-handed thing, folks. And I'm gonna tell you a story, CJ. I haven't told you yet. So when we were playing the match with all the lobs, right? Really nice guys. I played them before, like I said, and we were chatting afterwards, right? And 2 right-handed players. And I said to them, how come you guys don't stack? And they go, what do you mean? We're both right-handed, forehand when the forehand. And I said, guys, listen, I'm just going to tell you how it is. Your forehand, right? Like scary. Your forehand, not scary. So when your forehand's in the middle, I got to be careful where I return. When your forehand's in the middle, I can return wherever I want, unless I return it way wide to this guy's forehand, right? I'm just calling it like it is, right? I don't want to see your forehand. Your forehand's not bad, but I don't care, right? So I'm like, why don't you want your forehand in the middle on serve? And these 2 guys, and they're very good players. They're in their age group. They're 5'0", clearly. They're very good players. And they looked at me and they were like, huh. And so I told them, CJ, I said, we got a webinar coming up. You got to check it out. It's a 3-part webinar. Sign up for it. You know what I mean? I'm not getting, and I said, you're going to learn the shadow shift in there. I'm not telling you what the shadow shift is. You got to sign up for the webinar for the shadow shift. So,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? But listen, stacking, folks, I'm telling you. Now, you still got to focus on the fundamentals first, okay? Stacking is, I'm not saying stacking is like if you're a beginner, you're a 3-0 getting into the sport, put stacking off to the side for a little bit, not too long, for a little bit. Stacking is huge, and it's something that it does not require stroke mechanics. It doesn't require you to be like fast. It just requires understanding of the game, and you can build beautiful. It's like playing chess. When you're stacking, you are playing chess. You are putting pieces where you want them, depending on what's happening on the other team and what you're bringing to the table. It's awesome, folks. It changes the game. It takes a game to a whole different level of and those two gentlemen, again, very accomplished players, very good players, right? Didn't fully appreciate stacking and how it can improve their game because they would have been a better team had they stacked it. Much more difficult to beat.
Well, and here's the thing about stacking: you also don't have to be tournament players, right? This is talking about strategy. There's a lot of you that I know we know you don't play tournaments, but you play in that same competitive group, right? You're playing with those same players over and over and over again. So that'll be coming your way. If you want more information on that, we send it out to our newsletter first. You want to get on our newsletter list. If you're not already on there, go to wearepickleball.com/7 tips. I put that link in the comments in Facebook. Hopefully, Tony, you type that in the comments in YouTube. And if not, I'm going to hear the clicking.
What do you want me to put there? I'll put it right now.
we are pickleball.com/7 tips. The number 7 tips.
7 tips.
We'll send you 7 great tips for awesome pickleball, and you'll get to know when we put that together. But it's going to be a 3-part webinar series coming your way very soon, very soon.
And the 7 tips only cost 0.00001 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh,
$0.
zeros. I thought it was 0.00001 Bitcoin.
All zeros.
You know, hey, 0.00001 Bitcoin, CJ, is a lot of money. Ain't no messing around money right there.
That's true. That's very true. I want to take just a couple of quick ones off of Facebook, a couple of quick questions. Sharon, hello, Sharon. Sharon says, I keep getting stuck in no man's land. So here's the thing that I would say is, first of all, everybody, you got to go through, I don't call it no man's land. I call it transition zone, because you got to get through the transition zone to get to the non-volley zone. So the question starts to become, how do you move through there? And what's happening as you go through the transition zone? We got a ton of videos on both of our channels. What's that channel of yours? What did you say it was on your
Better
shirt?
Pickleball.
Okay, and Into Pickle.
Better Pickleball.
We got a ton of videos about how to get through the transition zone, but I look at it as a point of opportunity, and the first place that I go is, are you stopping your movement as you go forward? Are you doing a split step and stopping your movement as you go forward through the transition zone to be ready for the shot that's coming back to you? So that's kind of like the first place I look. Tony, you got anything you want to add in that?
Yeah, look, I think the 2 things I'm going to suggest on the transition zone that hopefully will help. One is, what are you trying to accomplish, right? So what happens a lot of times as players come into the game and, rec play and stuff like that, is they'll just start blasting balls from everywhere. And so don't blast balls if you're in the transition zone. Normally, it's not going to work out well for you because the other team is standing at the MVZ line. They're just going to blast it at your feet. So in your mind, right, you're going neutralize, not win. So you're trying to neutralize to get to the transition zone. That'll also help you with kind of what, not kind of what CJ's talking about, which is, getting yourself set. You're basically, you're walking through there. You're working through the transition zone. Is a process to work through there, right? Now, sometimes if it's a really good third shot, then you can move faster, right? But if it's a high third shot, then you stay where you're at, right? So you basically have to find your tempo. And that's where, that's what makes pickleball so interesting is that, we can't give you, there's no one size fits all for how to get through the transition zone because there's all sorts of factors, right? I don't know, how high is the third shot? Are they hitting it hard? Are they not hitting it hard? Or they, whatever. So there's all how fast are you? How good are you? Whatever. So there's all these factors. You basically have to, and CJ and I talk about this. There's 2 pieces, right? And CJ mentioned the mental and the physical. All that's necessary. But to play good pickleball, you need strokes, right? So you need you need to be able to hit the ball the way you want to hit it, and then you need to understand what you're trying to accomplish. You put those two things together, that's what makes you a good pickleball player, a successful pickleball player. So hopefully that helps.
So Elena wants to know how much drilling slash playing should you do with a partner before the tournament. I can only tell you what I get comfortable with is the further away from the tournament we are, the more drilling we do. The closer we get to the tournament, the less drilling we do and the more playing we do. So that when I'm entering those last, that last week, it's transition to almost all playing. That might not, if we play and we've got something that we need to work on, maybe we would step back and do a little drilling on that. But I want to flip flop that and really do a lot of playing before the tournament. And then I like to take a little break before a tournament comes because I need that both physically and mentally. So I don't want to play every day going into a tournament. For me personally, that's not how I perform the best. I want to take a day. I want to take a day off, maybe two. That's me.
Yeah,
Tony,
the
what
most
do you
important thing,
what do
the
you
most
do?
important thing, the most important thing I think, when you're getting ready for a tournament with a partner um, is going to be to basically your synchronicity, right? Are you simpatico on the pickleball court with your partner? In other words, are you moving well together? Are you covering for each other? Are you taking the balls that you should take, leaving the balls go that you should leave? So that kind of stuff is basically game game speed, right? It's not drill speed or practice speed. I don't think that like spending the week before tournament, like doing a bunch of drilling. Now, if you want to, work a little bit on a shot or something, that's fine. Like fine tune it, but you're certainly not going to learn a shot or add a shot or something like that right before a tournament. I don't think that's productive. So the main thing would be, if you need to work on like, okay, I just need to get my timing down on a cross court dink or something. Yeah, hit that for 10 or 15 minutes, but then spend some time on the court and make sure it's productive, right? If you're not, again, simpatico, or you don't have synchronicity while you're playing out there. Great album by the Police, if you haven't heard it. Make sure that you talk to each other and make sure that you have a clear communication. I'll give you a quick example. So Tom, my partner Tom, we played a tournament recently. He's left-handed like I am, but he's a racquetball player, so he has a really good backhand. So we play where I'm on the right, he's on the left. But so anything in the air, it's basically whoever gets to it first, it's fine. But if a ball bounces in the middle and I'm on the right, that's my forehand. If he's on the right, it's his forehand. So whoever's on the so we have an understanding on a specific ball so that there's no confusion when we're in a tournament going like I don't know who's supposed to hit that. So you want to make sure that that's really what you're focusing on before you get ready for a tournament. So
Agreed. Those are all great points. Uh, let's see. I'm just trying to make sure that we've got like a lot of the questions answered. I know we had questions about the book. I put it in the comments, but it's Dr. Peter Scales and mental and emotional training for tennis. Again, we always say don't let the word tennis fool you. It directly translates to pickleball. It's amazing. I think all of our members who are in that are learning so much because Tony and I were talking about this. I come from golf. I was a golf professional for my whole life. You get a lot of mental training in golf if you want it. And especially as a golf professional, you need to have that mental training. But many people who come to pickleball, at least half of you, didn't come from another sport. So you don't bring those skills with you. And and I don't know that I want to use the word mental toughness, but mental awareness is a learned skill. And you're not going to learn that skill on the court. You have to learn that skill off the court. So to me, the off court, and again, that goes back to the article that I wrote this weekend. A good plan is not just technique. You need to be looking at strategy, and strategy is an off court, on court thing. Because a lot of times, like we do game breakdowns in VI Pickleball, and game breakdowns show you different strategies, and we talk about what's effective and what's not effective, and you start to see the game at a different level. So some of that has to be done off the court, and then you take it on the court with you. Physical fitness, most of that's done off the court. Mental training is done off the court, and then you have to be aware of what's going on with your brain and have these pre-programmed solutions to help you once you get on the court. And I know for some people that sounds like a lot of work. it all depends on how you want to improve in pickleball. That work can be, if you're trying to be a 5-0 player and you're going to be the next Scott Moore or Chris Anderson, well, then you better treat it like a job. If you just want to get a little bit better to be with your competitive group or inside of your rec play group, 10 or 15 minutes. I bet you're spending 10 or 15 minutes watching TV. Right? Or the latest next Netflix or whatever the thing may be. Take 10 or
Not
15
even watching
minutes of
Netflix,
that
just trying to figure out what to watch on Netflix is probably
right.
taking you 20
It's
minutes.
probably
So
15
use that
minutes.
time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just scrolling the darn
got
catalog
it.
like.
Yeah. You got it. You got it. All right. What do you got? Any other questions over on YouTube?
Yeah, so Ian made a good point, which is that Annalie Waters spent most of her drilling time last winter learning to reset and play in a transition zone. It definitely, listen, if you can't get through the transition zone, right, you can't score points. You might be able to defend because when you're the return team, unless they push you off the line with a lob or something, you get to get up there first, right? So you get a kind of a pass through the transition zone. But to score points, you have to make it to a transition zone because it's very difficult to score from the baseline. So, that's something you'll definitely have to work on resetting. And then
But
Dale
wait,
asked
wait, wait,
question.
wait,
Oh yeah,
wait, wait 1 second. Annalie Waters was getting through the transition zone, but her transition zone was hard. It wasn't soft. I think what she's added to
right,
her game was she's added softness in the transition zone. Just,
right.
just to
I was
be
actually fascinated with. I don't know if you were able to watch any of the finals from this last weekend, but Lee and Annalie actually targeted Simone the entire match,
I saw that.
or at least when I watched it. It was amazing. It was like I was like, wow.
I saw that. I saw that. I was interested as to why they kept it away from Catherine. But I will say this: when Catherine got the ball, she was playing pretty darn good. She really was. And yeah, interesting,
I
right?
think they're tired of not of the whenever somebody plays Simone, they always like play away from her, right? And so they were like, not.
Well, and I would be interested to know. You want to talk about mental challenges, right? So Simone is used to not getting the ball. I mean, and like if you go back with when she was partnering with Corinne Carr, I mean, literally, she looked like Ben Johns and Simone, right? She's like on 3/4 of the court and she's reaching in and things like that. And they're just targeting Corinne, targeting Corinne, targeting Corinne. So, talk about a mental flip flop when you are not the person who's used to being targeted and now you're targeted, right? I mean, that had to make her uncomfortable. Obviously, she's got unbelievable skills and she found a way to deal with it mentally, but it had to make her uncomfortable because it's an unusual position for her. I mean, not
What do
so
you think
much
the
in
odds are,
mixed,
CJ?
but
Sorry,
what's
what do
that?
you think? What do you think the odds are that she did that because of my video where Irina Terashenko and Christine McGrath, I think, were over targeting Corinne Carr? Oh, and I said in that video, I said, see how when they go behind Simone, it opens up that court, and they win. They won like at least I think like 2/3 of the points when they went behind Simone in that match. So maybe Lee and Ali, like it's possible, small
It,
percentage.
yeah, it's possible. Yeah,
I'll
maybe.
have to ask him. Did you
Yeah,
watch that video? Is that what gave you the idea?
is that what gave you the idea? Yeah. I know
Mm.
Lee said back in a comment she was not pleased with the way she played in that last game. So um, we all get there, right? There are just times where you just
Lee is very very competitive. So yeah, it's yeah,
and they're all
no
great
missing,
players. Well,
zero missing.
here's the deal, and I'm just going to take that back to one of the things that Coach Pete says in his book, because there was somebody who made a comment. Somebody made a comment in an email that said something about not losing or losing to a team that you shouldn't lose to. And you know what? Um, on any given day, at any point in time, anyone can win out on the pickleball courts.
Can I jump on that?
You absolutely can.
Here's the thing, and this goes back to that thing about the metric, right? Like, is your metric winning or losing only? If you're not playing players who can beat you, you're not playing the right players.
Right.
So if you're playing players who, if you're not playing players who, if you're playing players who like you always beat, or players who always beat you. And I'm not saying not to play up some, that's fine. And I'm not saying to play down. I don't need to throw them down, but play lower level players, that's good. It's help and be helped. That's great. But when you know you're in the sweet spot is when you're playing a team that you look across the net and you go, you know what? I have a chance of winning, but so do they. If they don't have a chance of winning, then you're not being challenged. So, and again, and here's the thing, right? If they have a chance of winning, if that's accepted, then you might lose, and that's okay, because that's part of the bargain that you struck in getting onto that court with that other team. So, Dale points out that Simone is targeted a lot when she plays with Ben. Yeah, Dale. I mean, come on, man.
Right. But
I mean, she's awesome. We're talking about Ben Johns, right? Okay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. She's targeted a lot when she plays with Ben, but she's not targeted in women's doubles.
No.
When
she's
she
the
is
dominating figure there, right?
When she is on the court with another woman, she is the Ben Johns of that team. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so it was unusual. It was an interesting match. Let's put it that way. It was a very interesting match. Lots of new skills. I like the skills. I like the different. I don't know if I like the different mentality and the different set of skills that Annalie and Lee are using, right? You can see them trying to, because pickleball is a puzzle. And it doesn't matter if you're a 2-0 level player or a 6-0 level player. Pickleball is a puzzle. And right now, I think there's a lot of professional players who are trying to solve a puzzle of how do you play effectively against certain teams, right? There's a couple of teams on each side, men's doubles, women's doubles, as well as mixed, that are fairly dominant. How do you crack that puzzle? What's the strategies that start to crack that puzzle? Because, I mean, you look at the sure, some of them hit this shot better or this shot better, but they can all hit the shots.
Yep. Mm-hmm. They can all hit third shots. They can all pound the ball. They can do whatever you want them to do. They can pretty much do with the ball.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to mention, CJ, about what you were talking about with Annalie and Lee, it is fascinating because they play a different game, and it's not just the pace of their shots; it's their core positioning. Because we always advocate for our players get up to that MVZ line, right? I mean, I tell them when I'm in a clinic, I'm like, I want you uncomfortably close. I want you to think you're going to be inside the kitchen whenever you're standing up there, inside the MVZ line, right, or inside the MVZ. I want them right there. No space. But Lee and Lee give space, right? Because that's their. And that's where and I wanted to broach this real quick. I love these different strategies. I love these different techniques coming in. What folks, if you're watching this, what you need to be careful with is don't watch a Lee and Lee match and then take from that. Okay, look, they're standing 3 feet off or 2 feet off the line, so that's what I'm going to do. Because unless you're playing their style of game, that's not good for you. Plus, the other thing that you may be seeing, you may not be seeing it is. They go two close. In other words, they're on the line, off the line, on the line, off the line. They're not off the line, off the line, off the line, off. That doesn't make sense. So you have to be really careful to like try and find like these pro things that they're doing. Yeah, everybody wants the Ben Johns backhand roll. I want it too, but you know what I mean. But come on, let's focus on things that maybe are more attainable, not just attainable, but also will have a greater impact on your game than adding a shot or doing something like with the Lees. Again, totally respect their technique. I love what they're trying to do. And one more thing I'm gonna say, going back to what I said earlier and what we've been talking about, they have intentionality. When they get off the line, they're doing it for a reason. And when they get back on the line, they're doing it for a reason. They're not off the line just cuts. They're off the line because that's their technique. So.
And that goes into what this whole thing will tie that all up is that if you didn't see the blog post that we put out, actually we've been talking about this for the last 2 weeks. Tony wrote one, CJ wrote one. It's understanding the game and then understanding your attributes and applying that to the game. Because Annalie and Lee, they're drivers. I mean, that's what they came to the game with. They had to learn the soft game, right? And that's what they've spent the time learning is the soft game. They are drivers of the ball. They hit the ball hard. And those were their attributes and some of their strengths. Tony was talking about that in his mixed doubles. Our plan was to drive the ball and to drive the ball hard. His women's partner came from tennis. He says, man, she hits it hard. She smokes the forehand. you're playing to your strengths. If you didn't come from that and you don't have that skill, not saying you can't develop it, but that's maybe not the first place that you go. So that's why you really need to personalize a plan for yourself. And so take a look at those blog
You
posts.
dance with who brung you, CJ.
I know that was my grandfather's favorite saying, as Tony knows, you dance with who brung you. All right. Man, I gotta jump off. We got a VI pickleball fitness thing coming up tonight, and you got dinner with your wife.
I got food.
We are going to be back next week. I don't know when. We're doing these impromptu. If you want to know when, you better get on our newsletter list, and we'll give you lots of tips besides these. Newsletter list is wearepickleball.com/7 tips. Tony, it is fun chatting with you as usual, my friend.
Always fun, CJ. One more thing I'm going to mention. If your friends can't join right now, share this with them, folks. A little share button. Share. Bing, 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 bing. Pew, pew, pew.
We forgot to ask that. And hey, don't forget, stacking content coming your way. Be looking for it real soon. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.